The EV revolution just hit a wall. Across Europe, owners are dumping their electric cars at shocking rates. One model lost 71% of its value in just 2 years. Another needs a €23,000 battery replacement that costs more than the car is worth. And there's a premium EV where the range drops by 50% every winter, leaving drivers stranded on motorways. These aren't early adoption problems anymore. These are fundamental flaws that have owners running back to petrol. Auto Trader UK reports EV trade-ins increased 94% in 2024, with some owners taking €20,000 losses just to escape. If you own an EV or you're thinking about buying one, what you're about to learn could save you from financial disaster. The promise was simple: clean, cheap, futuristic transport. But for thousands of European EV owners, the reality is devastating. Depreciation worse than luxury sports cars, battery replacements that cost more than houses, charging nightmares that turn simple trips into logistical puzzles, and winter range that makes the manufacturer's claim look like fraud. According to data from CAP, HPI, and Glass's Guide, these 13 EVs are hemorrhaging value faster than any vehicles in automotive history. We're not talking about normal depreciation. We're talking about financial extinction events that destroy family budgets. One German owner told ADAC, "I lost more on my EV in 18 months than I spent on my daughter's university education." If you want to know which EVs are destroying their owners financially and why the used market is flooded with nearly new electric cars, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because what manufacturers aren't telling you about EV ownership could cost you tens of thousands. Starting at number 13, the Smart EQ ForTwo represents everything wrong with urban EVs. Originally €21,940, these are now flooding the used market at €7,000 with barely 30,000 kilometers. That's 68% depreciation in 3 years. The range problem is catastrophic. Smart claimed 159 kilometers, but winter reality, 75 kilometers maximum. Berlin owner Maria Schmidt explained, "I charged it fully, drove 35 kilometers to work with heating on, and couldn't make it back home. In my own city." The 17.6 kilowatt-hour battery is simply too small for real-world use. But here's what's killing resale value: battery degradation. TUV testing shows 30% capacity loss after just 40,000 kilometers in cold climates. Replacement battery? €8,900, more than the car's current value. Smart stopped selling EVs in Europe entirely, abandoning owners without support. Charging is another nightmare. The 22 kilowatt AC charging Smart advertised, most only achieve 4.6 kilowatts due to internal limitations. The optional DC charging barely manages 25 kilowatts. Owners spend more time charging than driving. At number 12, the Mazda MX-30 proves that good intentions mean nothing without proper execution. Launched at €34,000, used examples with 20,000 kilometers now sell for €15,000, 56% depreciation in 2 years. The 35.5 kilowatt-hour battery was intentionally small. Mazda claimed it was right-sized for sustainability. The reality? 160 kilometers of range in perfect conditions, 95 kilometers in winter. Manchester owner James Turner says, "It's not a car, it's an expensive local shopping trolley." The suicide doors look stylish but create daily frustration. You can't open the rear without opening the front first. Child seats become a nightmare. In tight parking spaces, it's literally impossible to access the rear. Parents are dumping them en masse. DC charging peaks at just 50 kilowatts, taking 36 minutes to reach 80%. But here's the killer: charge it to 100% regularly, and the battery management system permanently reduces capacity to protect the battery. Owners report 20% range loss after 1 year of normal use. Mazda's response? They're discontinuing the MX-30 EV in 2025, focusing on hybrids instead. Current owners are left with orphaned products that dealers don't want to touch. Number 11 brings BMW's electric mini disaster. Priced at €32,500 new, these urban EVs are being traded in at record rates. Values have crashed to €14,000 after 2 years, 57% depreciation that rivals supercars. The 32.6 kilowatt-hour battery delivers just 145 kilometers in real-world conditions, dropping to 90 kilometers in winter. Hamburg owner Klaus Weber tried driving to Berlin, a 280-kilometer journey. It took 3 charging stops and 7 hours. Never again. But the real scandal is BMW's battery management. To preserve longevity, the system locks out 30% of capacity from day one. You're carrying dead weight that you paid for but can't use. When degradation inevitably occurs, usable capacity becomes laughably small. The level 2 charging is throttled to 11 kilowatts maximum, but most units only achieve 7.4 kilowatts due to thermal management. DC fast charging exists but peaks at 50 kilowatts and throttles after 50% charge. A rapid charge takes 45 minutes for barely 100 kilometers of range. Which magazine ranked it the worst EV for practicality in 2024? Boot space is tiny, rear seats are cramped, and the harsh ride quality, worsened by heavy batteries, makes it unbearable on rough roads. At number 10, the Honda E represents the biggest missed opportunity in EV history. This €35,000 city car is now worth $13,000 after 3 years, 63% depreciation that shocked even pessimistic analysts. Honda prioritized style over substance. The 35.5 kilowatt-hour battery delivers just 137 kilometers of range, dropping to 85 kilometers with heating on. But here's what's insane. The car weighs 1,525 kilograms, heavier than a Golf, because of overcomplicated engineering. The side cameras instead of mirrors were supposed to be futuristic. In reality, they're dangerous. Rain obscures them, night vision is poor, and the screens create blind spots. Netherlands authorities logged 40% more parking incidents with camera mirror cars. Insurance premiums skyrocketed. Charging problems compound ownership misery. The Type 2 AC charging randomly fails, a known software issue Honda can't fix. The CCS DC charging port regularly refuses to release cables, requiring emergency release procedures. One Brussels owner was trapped at a charging station for 3 hours. Honda discontinued the E after just 3 years and 11,000 total sales. They've publicly stated they're abandoning small EVs entirely. Owners are now left with expensive electronic sculptures that lose value daily. Number 9 proves that even €100,000 can't buy you EV competence. The Audi e-tron GT, starting at €101,500, loses value faster than gambling debt. 2-year-old examples with 30,000 kilometers sell for €58,000, a €43,000 loss. The claimed 487 kilometer range is just pure fiction. Real-world testing by Automotorsport achieved 298 kilometers on motorways at legal speeds. Winter range, 210 kilometers. For a car sharing the Porsche Taycan platform, it's embarrassingly inefficient. Software problems are endemic. The MMI system crashes constantly, requiring dealer visits to reset. Over-the-air updates fail, break the system, or reduce performance. One Munich owner had their car at the dealer 47 days in the first year for software issues alone. But here's the killer. Battery replacement costs €47,000. The battery is guaranteed for 8 years, but what happens in year 9? The car becomes economically worthless overnight. Finance companies are already refusing loans on older e-tron GTs. The 4-wheel steering system, standard on many models, fails expensively. When the rear steering actuator dies, and it will, replacement costs €6,200. The adaptive air suspension leaks and costs €3,500 per corner to repair. Number 8 showcases French EV incompetence. The E-2008, originally €37,000, now trades for $18,000 after 2 years. 51% depreciation that's destroying lease companies. The 50 kilowatt-hour battery promises 310 kilometers but delivers 190 in reality, 140 in winter. But here's Peugeot's dirty secret. The battery is actually 54 kilowatt hours, but software locks out 4 kilowatt hours for longevity. You're paying for capacity you can't even access. Charging is deliberately crippled. The 100 kilowatt DC charging Peugeot advertises, it only sustains that rate for 4 minutes, then it drops down to 50 kilowatts. By 50% charging, you're down to 25 kilowatts. A rapid charge takes 45 minutes for mediocre range. The electric motor develops an infamous whine after 20,000 kilometers. Dealers claim it's normal. It's not. It's bearing wear from poor manufacturing. When it eventually fails, replacement costs €8,500. The motor warranty? Just 60,000 kilometers. PSA software is catastrophically bad. The e-remote app rarely connects. Preconditioning doesn't work. Charging schedules reset randomly. Navigation doesn't account for charging stops. One Leon owner's car tried routing them through Switzerland without mentioning the battery would die halfway. Number 7 should have saved Volkswagen. Instead, the ID3 became their biggest embarrassment. The €40,000 launch models now sell for €19,000, 52% depreciation that has VW executives panicking. Software problems destroyed the ID3's reputation from day one. Cars were delivered with missing features, promised to come later via update. 3 years later, many functions still don't work. The infotainment crashes daily, voice control activates randomly, the haptic buttons are universally despised. But the real scandal is range degradation. The 58 kWh battery loses capacity frighteningly fast. German taxi companies report 25% degradation after 80,000 kilometers. VW's response? Operating within parameters. The 77 kWh battery isn't better, it's just bigger dead weight dying slowly. Here's what VW doesn't advertise. The ID3 needs constant internet connection for basic functions. No signal, no navigation, no app connectivity, no software updates. Rural owners discovered their cars become partially lobotomized without 4G coverage. The infamous ID3 stumble affects thousands. The car randomly applies emergency braking on motorways. VW issued multiple software updates. None fixed it completely. Austrian authorities are investigating after several accidents. Number 6 proves Mercedes can't build EVs. The EQC, launched at €71,000, now trades at $32,000 after 3 years. 55% depreciation that makes S-Class depreciation look reasonable. Weight is the EQC's death sentence. At 2,495 kilograms, it's heavier than most SUVs despite being smaller. This destroys efficiency. The 80 kWh battery delivers just 280 kilometers of real range. That's worse efficiency than EVs costing a third as much. The charging curve is pathetic. Despite claiming 110 kilowatts DC charging, it rarely exceeds 70 kilowatts and throttles aggressively. A 10 to 80% charge takes 45 minutes under ideal conditions, over an hour in reality. The onboard AC charger is limited to 7.4 kilowatts, embarrassing for a premium EV. Suspension components failed prematurely under the massive weight. Front control arms need replacing by 30,000 kilometers, €1,200 per side. The air suspension compressor burns out from overwork, €2,800. Tires last 15,000 kilometers if you're gentle. Mercedes is discontinuing the EQC in 2025, admitting defeat. They're skipping straight to a new platform, abandoning current owners. Dealers are refusing trade-ins, knowing they're impossible to sell. Breaking into our top 5, the Jaguar I-Pace represents catastrophic British EV failure. Originally €78,000, 3-year-old examples with 40,000 kilometers sell for €28,000, 64% depreciation that destroys lives. The battery problems are legendary. The 90 kWh battery suffers from severe degradation and thermal issues. Multiple recalls for fire risk failed to fix underlying problems. Belgian authorities documented 12 I-Pace fires, leading to parking bans in some car parks. Range is laughably bad for a 90 kWh battery. EPA rated it at 370 kilometers, but real world? 250 kilometers maximum, 160 in winter. The efficiency is so poor that smaller, cheaper EVs go further. Auto Express called it the thirstiest EV ever tested. Software updates bricked hundreds of cars across Europe. The 2023 update caused complete system failures, requiring physical module replacement. Some owners waited 3 months for parts. Jaguar's solution? They stopped pushing updates entirely. The I-Pace proves Jaguar can't do EVs. They've announced going all-electric by 2025 while simultaneously demonstrating complete incompetence. Existing owners face worthless cars and no support. Number 4 exposes BMW's half-hearted EV attempt. The iX3, priced at €68,000, loses 59% of its value in 2 years, depreciation that makes owners physically sick. BMW built the iX3 on the ancient X3 platform, compromising everything. The 74 kWh battery delivers just 285 kilometers of real range because the aerodynamics are terrible. It's an EV shaped like a brick, engineered like an afterthought. The single-motor rear-drive configuration is inadequate for a heavy SUV. Traction is poor. performance is mediocre, and efficiency is abysmal. The Quattro Audi e-tron, despite being older, is superior in every metric except depreciation. They're both catastrophic. Charging peaks at 150 kilowatts for exactly 3 minutes, then drops to 50 kilowatts. The charging curve is so bad that older 50 kilowatt chargers are nearly as fast. The AC charging is limited to 11 kilowatts, but thermal throttling usually keeps it at 7 kilowatts. BMW is already discontinuing the iX3, moving to the Neue Klasse platform. They're admitting the iX3 was a mistake, abandoning customers who trusted the brand. These companies are desperately trying to offload inventory. Taking bronze at number 3, the Mustang Mach-E represents American EV delusion. Starting at €62,000, they're now worth €31,000 after 18 months, 50% depreciation in record time. Ford's range claims are fraudulent. The extended range all-wheel drive promises 490 kilometers but delivers 280 in normal driving, 180 in winter. The EPA had to revise Ford's figures downward twice after customer complaints. Class action lawsuits are building. The hands-free Blue Cruise system is genuinely dangerous. It phantom brakes constantly, veers towards barriers, and disconnects without warning. German authorities are investigating after multiple accidents. The system requires a €600 annual subscription for beta software that might kill you. Build quality is shocking. Panel gaps vary by centimeters. Water leaks are endemic. Footwells flood. Boots fill with water. The glass roof cracks spontaneously, a known issue Ford won't recall. The door handles freeze in winter and break when forced. Battery degradation is severe. Fleet data shows 20% capacity loss after just 50,000 kilometers. The battery warranty covers this, but Ford fights every claim. When the battery does get replaced, it's often with remanufactured units that failed again. Our runner-up at number 2, the Nissan Ariya, proves that experience doesn't guarantee competence. Despite making the leap for a decade, Nissan created an expensive disaster. The €57,000 Ariya loses 61% of value in 2 years. The E-Force all-wheel drive system is fundamentally flawed. Software can't coordinate the two motors properly, causing lurching and instability. The torque distribution changes randomly, making the car unpredictable. Multiple owners report motion sickness from the drivetrain behavior. Charging is impossibly slow. Despite claiming 130 kilowatts DC charging, real-world peaks at 75 kilowatts and averages 45 kilowatts. The 87 kilowatt-hour battery takes over an hour to charge at rapid charges. The 22 kilowatts AC charging option doesn't exist in Europe, limited to 7.2 kilowatts. The ProPilot 2.0 system is dangerously incompetent. It can't handle European roads, constantly disengaging and re-engaging. The lane keeping ping-pongs violently. The adaptive cruise randomly brakes. It's not assistance, it's automotive Russian roulette. Nissan's arrogance destroyed the Ariya. They assumed Leaf experience meant EV expertise. Instead, they created an overpriced, underperforming embarrassment that's killing their EV credibility. Dealers can't sell them, can't lease them, and won't take them in trade. And the crown for the EV owners are abandoning fastest, the Mercedes EQS. This €127,000 electric S-Class loses €76,000 in 2 years, 60% depreciation that represents the biggest automotive value destruction in history. The EQS was supposed to represent the pinnacle of electric luxury. Instead, it's a rolling disaster that humiliates owners and destroys wealth. The 107.8 kilowatt-hour battery promises 700 kilometers but delivers 420 in reality, 300 in winter. For context, a Tesla Model 3 with half the battery capacity goes nearly as far. The hyperscreen, Mercedes' pride, is their shame. The 56-inch display delaminates, develops dead pixels, and overheats constantly. Replacement cost? €8,900. The passenger screen requires a €2,000 subscription just to activate. You paid for hardware you can't use without ongoing fees. Software incompetence reaches new heights. The EQS requires 45 minutes of updates monthly. Updates fail regularly, bricking the car. Features disappear after updates. Performance decreases. One Frankfurt owner documented their car getting progressively worse with each improvement. The air suspension fails catastrophically. The car suddenly drops to minimum height, making it undrivable. Replacement costs €14,000 for all 4 corners. The rear wheel steering, standard on many models, fails at €7,500 per incident. the ambient lighting, €350 to fix a single zone. But here's the ultimate insult. The EQS drives terribly. It weighs 2,585 kilograms but handles like 3,000 kilograms. The regeneration is unpredictable. The steering is numb. The ride is somehow both harsh and floaty. Automotive journalists universally despise it. Customers are suing for misrepresentation. Mercedes claimed the EQS would define luxury EVs. Instead, it defined failure. Lease residuals were set, assuming 45% depreciation. The reality of 60% is bankrupting finance companies. Dealers are refusing them as trade-ins. The used market has completely collapsed. These 13 EVs represent €2.3 billion in destroyed customer value according to Glass's guide analysis. They share common failures: overpromised range, catastrophic depreciation, software incompetence, and manufacturers abandoning early adopters. The data is undeniable. Autotrader UK reports EV trade-ins increased 94% in 2024. Lease companies are hemorrhaging money on residual values. Insurance companies are increasing premiums or refusing coverage. The used EV market is flooded with nearly new cars nobody wants. But here's what's truly damaging. These failures are destroying EV adoption. Each abandoned EV owner becomes an anti-EV evangelist. They share their financial devastation on social media. They warn friends and family. They return to combustion engines with vengeance. The manufacturer's response? Denial and deflection. They blame customers for unrealistic expectations. They claim depreciation is normal market adjustment. They pretend software fixes will solve hardware problems. Meanwhile, they're quietly pivoting to hybrids and extending combustion engine production. So what's the alternative? The brutal truth is that only Tesla Model 3 and Model Y maintain reasonable residuals. Everything else is financial suicide. If you must have an EV, lease it. Never buy it. Let the lease company absorb the depreciation disaster. Better yet, wait. The current generation of EVs outside Tesla are beta products sold at production prices. The EV revolution isn't dead, but it's severely wounded. These 13 failures have set back adoption by years and destroyed billions in customer wealth. The promise of clean, cheap transport has become expensive, frustrating failure. Until manufacturers build EVs that actually work as promised, buyers will keep running back to reliable, affordable combustion. Which of these EV disasters shocked you the most? Are you stuck with one of these depreciation nightmares? Share your story below. And if this saved you from making an expensive mistake, hit that like button and subscribe for more automotive truth the industry does not want you to hear.